Good evening, everyone. It's 6 p.m. Welcome to our February 7, 2023 legislative meeting for York City Council. Up first, we will open up with public comment on non-agenda items only. I have one form so far. So up first is we have Ms. Tiffany Lowe.
Hello, everyone. How you guys doing today?
Good evening. Good. How are you?
All right. So the rules state that I only have 300 seconds. That's 5 minutes. So I'm going to make the best of it. At least I'm going to try. All right. I'm here to present GVI, Group Violence Intervention, in a way I believe it has not been presented to you before. With all the great work that is being done here in the city of York, I noticed gaps that I wanted to bring to your attention, and hopefully you could help fill so that this initiative can continue to work and we are collectively saving lives together. GVI is an evidence-based strategy that has been proven if community, service providers, and law enforcement work together, crime rates will go down and graduation rates will rise. Per the RAND study, which is a research organization that develops solutions to public safety, states that it can cost a community roughly $12 million in total economic impact every time a person is killed. It costs roughly $30,000 per graduation. That includes the venue and the staff. One of the most effective strategies about GVI is the collaboration piece. However, many people choose not to collaborate for reasons unbeknownst to me. What I do know is that if we all put our pride to the side, come together, we will find solutions to save lives because we have lost too many. Every Wednesday, the GVI team conducts a custom notification, which is a strategy where we knock on doors of group member involved individuals to build rapport and offer services that will keep them safe, alive, and free. The team consists of community members, service providers, and law enforcement. Before coming here tonight, I had to do my homework on each one of you. And I promise it was not easy. You all have a very impressive resume and a well-written biography on the City of York's webpage. I wanted to get a better feel of who I was speaking to and how GVI, which is community-based, could utilize City Council beyond the desk. I figured each of you have to have some type of love for the city because not just anyone would be on City Council, or would they? I assume that each of you have been impacted by gun violence, either professionally or personally. Professionally, I must admit, I know you have. President Sandy Walker, you have been serving on council since 2016. That totals 101 shooting victims that have died in York City under your leadership. Vice President Edwina Washington, she's not here, but she has served on City Council since 2018, which totals 77 shooting victims that have died in York City under her leadership. Councilmember Lou Rivera, you have served on City Council since 2020, which totals 49 shootings. 49 shooting victims that have died in York City under your leadership. Councilmember Ms. Betsy Buckingham, you have served on City Council since 2022, which totals 22 shooting victims that have died in York City under your leadership. Councilwoman Dr. Felicia Dennis has served on council since 2022, which totals 22 shooting victims that have died in York City under your leadership. And I figured he would be present. Commissioner Michael Muldrow, you have served as our commissioner since October of 2020, which totals 40 shooting victims that have died in York City under your leadership. My question is to each and every one of you, and you don't have to answer right now. Are those numbers significant enough for me to ask for the shot spotters to be implemented in our city? Are those numbers significant enough for me to ask for the community cameras to be installed? Are those numbers significant enough for me to ask that you all release year 2 of the ARPA funding to support GVI-related programs? My main reason for asking for these things is because the people on the back of my shirt never got a chance to. And I'll turn around and let you see these names. Those names are all victims, not all, but some victims of York City that have died during everyone's tenure. If we don't do something, we're going to have more names. See, many gun violence prevention efforts have been made because of all of you wonderful people signing off, using your title to save lives. GVI has many different components that are beyond amazing. We have titles and tools as well. One of our greatest tools is our credible messenger. This position allows an individual to go directly to the hospital or scene of a shooting victim, hold the hand of the victim if they survive, or hold the mother or father up when the news is shared. I'm sorry, we did all we could. I held 12 family members up out of the 13 homicides I reported to as a credible messenger, and each time I asked, what else could we do? I know for a fact that if each of you could have saved every one of those victims that died during and even before your tenure as councilperson, as commissioner, you would have. I know that if you could have assured each family member of these victims that justice would be served, you would have. City Council, you are a part of the reason that we have more officers on the streets. Thank you. Commissioner Muldrow, you have implemented countless ideas to address gun violence. Thank you. I know that you all will make the decision to ensure that we have more graduations in York City and less funerals. Nothing is 100% accurate, and we probably will never get it 100% right. But are you willing to try? Look around the room. We have more human intelligence than money can buy, sitting right in this room. We actually have more people in this room with degrees that I can't even pronounce. I'm looking at you, Dr. Felicia. I cannot pronounce the degree you have, but thank you. However, with all that intelligence, we are still losing our babies because we didn't do all we could. I am asking you, City Council, to consider doing more, going beyond the desk, allowing your title to come second to your heart. I'm asking that you consider incorporating artificial intelligence into our community the way you see fit so that we can save lives. I'm asking that we, GVI, City Council, law enforcement, service providers, community, put our pride to the side, use our titles as tools and not as weapons to attend more graduations and less funerals. Thank you for your time and have a great evening.
I got a quick comment. I know I asked President Walker. I asked President Walker if she could give me 2 minutes. Introduce yourself, Tiff.
I'm Tiff Lowe. I'm the GVI project manager.
Remember, Tiff, everybody. This is the future of York right here. So proud of this young lady. And not only that, she was in my conversation when I first saw her today. You've been in my conversation numerous times today. I'm extremely proud of you. Keep up the great work. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment on non-agenda items?
So I guess today is the day for speeches. Ms. Diana, if I disappear, it's not because I went willingly after this. I said if I disappear, it's not because I went willingly, I went with the fight, okay? First and foremost, I would like to thank City Council for the opportunity to speak. I would also like to thank City Council President Sandy Walker for the opportunity and invitation to speak and offer my expertise at Better York's meeting a few months ago in regards to their proposed partnership and third-party funded citywide public surveillance camera system. What an amazing and involved group of people. Better York continues to do great things. Having served as executive director of our Senate's Communication and High Technology Committee, and executive director of Philadelphia Senatorial Delegation, and holding 3 advanced degrees, almost a little conscious about that now, from Penn State and the University of Pennsylvania, I was a co-author of the legislation that authorized the first private third-party citywide camera surveillance system in our Commonwealth, specifically in Philadelphia and the United States at that time. 23 more states have passed legislation based on this 2005 Commonwealth law that was passed. It was in this meeting I was asked to discuss and recommend by City Council President Walker possible next legislative steps for York's citywide camera surveillance system proposal, and I did, highlighting key federal surveillance mandates that must be met, as well as cautioning against what at that time and in that meeting was our mayor's endorsement as chief city executive, as his endorsement as chief city executive could present a constitutional issue. Another lesson learned is our Commonwealth surveillance laws were challenged in 2007, and I was also part of that. Up until a decisive decision rendered by the United States Supreme Court definitively established what, how, and which government entities can and cannot, according to our Constitution, publicly surveil. The intent and merit of such a system was never questioned by anyone that I talked to in City Council, but simply addressing again next legislative steps and possible barriers to the proposal's enactment. I took the time to mention the above listed list of credentials and education because it was in that meeting, in a room where I was one of 3 people of color and the only non-official, the above list of credentials and merit was immediately dismissed and denigrated, actually, of a simple opinion of a random individual, with a tone that was both dismissive and, quite frankly, a dog whistle, customarily used to relegate people of color throughout this country's history to knowing our place when facts contradict opinions and agendas. A simple but effective dog whistle that all too often leads to the instant dismissal of facts and the person presenting them, regardless of their educational merit, credentials, experience. Unfortunately, this person I'm referencing and addressing today is what I hope to have had the opportunity to talk to was our city's mayor, Mayor Michael Helfrich. Because this kind of thing, unfortunately, still is the norm in far too many professional settings that people of color like myself attend, we know better than to react, because doing so risks losing sight of the bigger picture, and because such behavior is still generally tolerated, whether intentional or not. Usually interactions like this are brushed off as something other than what we really know that they are. But after seeing this behavior and hearing another sort of dog whistle repeated to another person of color in the room, who ironically was chosen by our mayor to lead and direct the real problem being talked about, at the opportune moment in the meeting, I addressed the mayor professionally and respectfully in an effort to refocus his attention on the process, only to be met with more vitriol, dog whistles, and accusations despite the fact that we had never met before. A few points must be made to elevate this situation and future situations just like this going forward, above simply just being a proverbial mess or a tit for tat. The points I feel a personal need to represent and address as not just a black man, but a contributing citizen and human being, regardless of the above resume and educational merits, are these. A direct challenge to the mayor, even to our top city and regional leaders. Number one, starting with this, can we legitimately recognize and consistently, rather than just conveniently, respect all of our communities on our merits and humanity above and beyond easy labels, easy assumptions, and stereotypes? Number two, for the few that still think in adequated terms like this, it is important to be hyper-aware of these stereotypes, labels, and dog whistles, like the stereotypical angry black woman or the step and fetch it black male, which are still too easily accessed and expected in the imaginations of an unfortunate portion of our demographic, our elected officials, top city leaders, and at times even our local media. The demographic majority who, when charity is no longer enough, will resort to using these stereotypes, labels, and dog whistles. Most importantly, whenever a person of color questions or disagrees with you, your position and policy is not to revert to using these above stereotypes, labels, and dog whistles against black and brown individuals and communities, for potential political points that further divide and feed a monster that should have never been born in this nation's history in the first place. Once again, I just want to appreciate the City Council President Walker's generosity in allowing me to serve in the small capacity as a, for clarity's sake, unpaid volunteer. I want to make that clear. Despite the unfortunate biases shown at that meeting and a few other instances frequently before and after that, there's a growing coalition of diverse men and women of all races and ethnicities who are determined to support this city. Many of us returning to the city that we in our youth fled because of these exact same prejudices, barriers, and biases. This time, and I stress this time, with an unrelenting determination to ensure our children, our nephews, our nieces won't have to flee to be respected and treated equally in the very city where the Articles of Confederation were signed and the proverbial land of the free began. Again, thank you, City Council. Thank you, City Council President Walker.
Thank you. Any other public comment on non-agenda items only?
Manuel Gomez, resident, City of York, just a regular guy. You know, I don't often speak outside of the legislative sessions, but today I wanted to point out, as members of the public, we didn't have the benefit of an agenda being posted, which I thought was odd. I don't know if we suffered a glitch, why we didn't have one available. I even checked now, so it was a little bit strange. No, I'm not sure if it was a glitch.
So that was an oversight on my part.
No worries.
I apologize
Oh,
for that.
you've been a bedrock for so long. No worries.
Thought it was. I thought.
That's why I thought it was odd. I wanted to say that outside of all the pomp and circumstance, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. On behalf of council, the administration, and also people in the community that we never hear about. If we can focus more on the work that's being done and less on agitating, I think we can get farther. And the only reason I'm saying that is because it troubles me to hear Mr. Walker's experience. It's not the first I've heard of that. Sometimes we get ahead of ourselves in what we're pursuing, how we want to see it done. And I think we get a little bit too antagonistic in how we do things. You could wave it away and say it's just how York rolls. It's not really true. It's lazy to say that. Again, just as a regular person that's always here, that's often the only person not paid to be in the room, just my perspective from what I see, I could see it heightening more and more as the proposals come to, I'll say fruition, because most of what's being asked about, one thing that I don't like, and I don't want to attack the media, people think I have something out for the press, but the fact is that a lot of what gets reported is not accurate. Council never said no to a lot of the proposals. I should know. I'm always here. A lot of things are being fleshed out. Many things have been put on pause. Some of it perhaps has been prolonged. But a lot of these things will come to fruition. They're just taking form.
Thank you. Any other public comment on non-agenda items only? Hearing none, we will conclude our public comment session and move on to our legislative meeting. It's 6:19. At this time, I will call our meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis.
Here.
Buckingham.
Here.
Rivera.
Here.
Walker.
Here. And if you are able to, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, we will take action on previous meeting minutes from January 17th, 2023. Council, are there any changes that need to be made to those meeting minutes?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those meeting minutes are approved. No presentations, awards, or announcements. Our next legislative meeting for council will be held on Tuesday, February 21st at 6 p.m. And agenda items are due by 12 noon on February 15th. Our next council committee meeting will be held on Wednesday, March 1st, 2023 at 6 p.m. Agenda items are due by 12 noon on February 22nd. No status of prior committee referrals. So we will move on to the legislative agenda. Up first, we have final passage of Bill number 3, increasing the salary of the city treasurer.
Call for vote.
Is there a
Second?
Okay, so that was bill number, that's bill number 3, which was introduced by Betsy Buckingham at the January 17th meeting. It's an ordinance increasing the city treasurer as tax collector's salary to $50,000 effective January 2024.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments from council? Any questions or comments from the public? Come on up.
Hi, Marilyn Hake, city resident. I'm here to speak on behalf of supporting that this raise is essential for our city treasurer. I've been paying taxes in the city for quite a long time, and I have to say that since Joe took over, he has streamlined that office. The progress that has been made to me, because I walk over and pay them, that has been astounding. That also stretches over to the other side where you pay for parking and all the other fees. That has improved tremendously. I know from speaking that that overtime has been cut back. The hours are sufficient for everybody, and I think Joe has put into effect a lot of ways that have made it more efficient. I did ask, and I found out that the salary hasn't been raised since 1996. I can't imagine working at a job and not getting a raise since 1996. It doesn't reflect the increase in the responsibilities that have been put on the treasurer, taking over all the revenues that come into the city. I think the raise is fair, is needed, and it is definitely needed so that we can keep somebody in this office that has the caliber and the quality that Joe Jeffcoat has. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw a couple hands, so any other public comment? Come on up.
On my sentiment, I'm Terry John Askew. I'm a city resident, and I very much agree with what Marilyn says. As a city resident, there are a handful of city employees and Joe Jeffcoat as an elected, city official that I can count on, that I know will always be accurate, responsive, and effective. And it's made a world of difference that I have complete faith in his management of the city's, his financial responsibilities. And I think it's only justice that he receive pay that at least approaches parity with other city executives. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Marie Roleda, 200 North Duke Street. I cannot imagine, without this raise, what is going to happen to the treasurer's office when Joe leaves. The responsibility, the sheer amount of work that has to be done is worth even more than $50,000. I'm sorry, but being a city treasurer is a terribly important job. And it has just been, for years, a job that's been swept under the rug, that nobody has paid any attention to. And it's time now to get serious. When Joe took office, this was supposed to be a part-time job. Come on. A city with the size and complexity of York to be a part-time job as the treasurer? Somebody's heads were not thinking when that was put into place. So please, not just for Joe's sake, but for the sake of whoever, whenever this office comes up again, look at what you're asking a person to do and look at how you're thinking about compensating that person.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
I'm a little flabbergasted right now that these people that I have known since moving to York, that I worked with Marie when we did the community development project with the YWCA and with the city and with Maryland through the Alliance of Neighborhood Associations, and with Terry, who's a member of Downtown East, which is our neighborhood association along East Market Street. I'm not sure I know this person they're talking about, but I just say thanks to you all for your support. And I would like to thank you also for taking the time to meet with the school board and to talk about the tax collection portion of the responsibilities and duties of the city treasurer, and meeting with them. And from my understanding, that the two groups are in support of the proposal that came forth. I surely got that from the school board and the business administrator at the school system. However, I do want to say that that is only a portion of the job of the city treasurer. And the ordinance as written only compensates one for that portion of the job, the collection of the real estate taxes for those two entities. Section 415 of the optional charter law says that the city treasurer shall perform such functions and duties and have such powers related to the collection, receiving, safekeeping, and payment over of public monies, including city, county, institutional district, and school district taxes, as provided by general law, and shall have other such functions, powers, and duties as may be assigned to him by council. Section 1403 of the Third Class City Code says the city treasurer shall demand and receive all money payable to the city from whatever source, and shall pay all warrants duly countersigned by the Director of Accounts and Finance, which for us is our business administrator, and the city controller. The city's administrative code affirms these state laws and states that the city treasurer shall carry out such duties and exercise such powers with respect to the receipt and the distribution of public money as provided by general law, and in addition to shall receive and deposit from the departments of the city all city monies collected by such departments. Furthermore, the city ordinance 137.06 affirms that the treasurer has the final step in the improvement of city expenditures. To quote, no expenditures are made except upon written requisition, and no payments made unless a warrant therefore has been properly signed and a check therefore presented to the city treasurer. The city budget exceeds $100 million. And you may fear that individuals lacking experience may be elected to the position. Boy, do I understand that. But I think that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't provide competitive salaries for the position, then you're pretty much guaranteed that the city will not attract a competent person to run for the position. The city has 14 individuals, not counting an additional 52 police officers and 36 firefighters, earning a base salary of over $80,000 a year. All York County elected officials make more than $80,000 annually. The county treasurer's compensation was set in 2020 at $86,635.64. According to County Ordinance 2020-03, county row officers also receive annual increases in compensation based on the percentage change of the Consumer Price Index for the most recent 12-month period ending October 31st. I'm asking that a comparable adjustment be made in the city treasurer's salary on an annual basis. I'm aware that $80,000 exceeds that of the mayor who earns $75,000. So you might feel that it's more appropriate to provide lesser compensation for these responsibilities, which I do understand. By design, the Treasurer's Office and the Controller's Office are totally independent of the city administration. This arrangement facilitates a more transparent financial picture, a system of checks and balances, and a more open and straightforward dialogue addressing financial matters. However, to work effectively, the city treasurer must be present on a daily basis and empowered to do the job for which he has taken an oath of office. Enormous progress has been made in the last 3 years, but we're not there yet. Over $30,000 was cut from the Treasurer's Office budget during my first term, and over $50,000 was cut from the Treasurer's Office budget in my second term. The office is also generating over $70,000 for services each year. That's more than enough to cover the additional compensation. It's now time for the city to invest in the professionalism of the Treasurer's Office to ensure that the city addresses the legal requirements for the position and attracts competent accountants to public service. I'd like to ask that you consider amending the ordinance to provide some compensation for the performance of duties and responsibilities of the city treasurer as separate and distinct from those of the tax collector and established by state law and city ordinance, and two, to allow for annual increases in salary as specified in the ordinance. Thank you. Question?
Thank you. Any other public comment? I do agree that we need to look at elected officials' positions overall here in the city of York. When I'm looking at our neighboring cities, Lancaster, Harrisburg, it seems as though in the Treasurer's Department that the full-time positions, deputy treasurer, other positions in that particular office are compensated at a higher amount. But it seemed as though the treasurer, as the elected position or official, still was comparable to what we have now. I agree that if we want more interest in individuals running for office here in the city of York, whether it's city council, whether it's the treasurer or the controller or the mayor, for the amount of work that is required or expected or whether or not we, the moral obligation, we take an oath to represent the individuals of the city of York. It's a lot of work. And I believe that we need to look at this as a collective effort in the future. At this particular time, I'm not in favor of going above the 50,000. I believe that this is a step in the right direction, but I think we have a lot more work to do when it comes to elected officials' positions overall in the city of York. Any other public comment, council comment?
I would agree with that. And as elected officials, I think there's not any city resident in the room that doesn't appreciate the energy and dedication that Joe has provided through his elected office. But it's just that, an elected office, and we have no control over who would run, who would be elected, their dedication to executing the office. But I also agree that this step is in the right direction.
I also agree that we are stepping in the right direction, especially like hearing since 1996 there has been no increase. So as Councilwoman President said, and Councilwoman Betsy, I agree. But we have to take small steps to get there. And if we work together, I believe that we'll continue climbing together.
So, Joe, you have my and I agree with Councilwoman Walker. This is a step in the right direction. And you know that I'm in support of this and the work you have done and continue to do. You're cut from a different cloth, meaning, and that's a compliment, meaning you're really on top of your game. What I don't appreciate is to be lectured by some of your supporters on a position that's been run this way for a very long time, and this council has nothing to do with it. We're working with you, but to tell us that, everyone's replaceable. Elected officials are replaceable, the mayors, everyone's replaceable. And so what I hope is that what's happening in your department is that we're grooming somebody, but Councilwoman Betsy makes a good point, is this is an elected office. So someone can run, someone can win, they might not have the same standards as you. So I think this is a step in the right direction.
Any other public comment? Yes.
Manuel Gomez, of course, City of York. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I guess I'll say the plaudits are real. I've never heard really any negative feedback with regards to Mr. Jeffcoat's tenure in the Treasurer's office, and just being around, you hear it all. But I think that you have the right person in the right place at the right time. Currently, you hit it on the head when you said it's an elected office. It's an elected office. That is a built-in check and balance. That's just the fact of the matter. And I wish I wasn't driven to say what I'm going to say now. And please, to the treasurer and my wonderful neighbors that I love to see here, don't take this the wrong way, but I don't like to see the treasurer, regardless who it is, making the plea so directly before the council. I'm concerned about the propriety of asking for that raise so poignantly here at the podium, although I understand that, of course, we get self-interest, and I don't say that in the wrong way. It seems a little bit off. You would think that such a thing should have its own organic impetus, not necessarily be driven by somebody that's already there, because the merit of the work, it speaks for itself.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
I just want to say City Council has been getting $10,000 for, I don't even know, it's been decades. So I've always thought that you all deserve more too. So maybe this will open up the door to you guys considering getting more money. And I also think that the mayor's position would be something of interest because of the full-time work that the mayor puts in. Not necessarily the mayor we have now, but just saying that the mayor in general, if we're looking to attract people that that will do the job. Not saying the mayor now is not doing it. That's not what I meant.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Dennis,
Yes.
Buckingham,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes. And that is so ordered. Moving on to introduction of bills, we have introduction of Bill number 4, amending the 2023 budget.
So introduced.
That's bill number 4, introduced by Betsy Buckingham, and that is a bill amending the 2023 budget from the American Rescue Plan Act for the Thaxton Phase 2 project for drywall in the amount of $100,000 and removal of contaminated soil in the amount of $350,000.
And that is an introduction, so it will sit until our next legislative meeting. Moving on to items for consideration of consent agenda. Is there a motion to proceed with a consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Items for consideration are items 3 through 8. Council, please review. If there are any items that you would like to pull, please share them with us. Any items, Council?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve items 3 through 8?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments for items 3 through 8 from council? I do believe we have at least one individual that is here for appointment to the HRC. I see you back there. So I'll always say, as usual, thank you for volunteering. There are many boards throughout the city that we are always looking for city residents to volunteer their time, and it's very much so needed. So thank you for always stepping up to the plate and being involved. Are there any questions or comments from the public for items 3 through 8 on the agenda? Yes, ma'am. Come on up.
Hello, I'm Mina Edmondson, and I am a commissioner on the City of York Human Relations Commission. And I thank you for accepting our nomination. I think we're very pleased to have Mr. Query join us on the commission. I'm sure that he will represent us well. He is active in our community, and I know that he's ready to hit the ground running and working and being willing to do the work that needs to be done to provide that equal protection for all of our community members in housing, employment, and public accommodation. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you for your service as well.
Is Mr. Query here?
That's Mr.
Oh,
Query.
okay, I can do the oath, not you.
Okay. Any other public comment? Come on up.
Manuel Gomez, again, resident, City of York. Just as a matter of procedure, I don't think that these should all be commingled into a consent agenda. I think that procedurally, council sometimes uses this consent agenda process a little bit too liberally. In other words, to say too often. Exonerations, appointments, and the like. I just want to say, as an observer and a participant in the meetings, I don't think that they should be part of a consent agenda as such. Just wanted to just put that out there.
Thank you. Come on up.
Good evening. I'm David Shawman, Deputy Director of the York Housing Authority. We were here just kind of watching the introduction of the bill for the ARPA funds. And what I wanted to say is I just thank the council for their support along the way.
We're only taking public comment on our agenda items.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
Oh, it's no problem at all. Any other public comment?
Just want to, Michael Walker, resident of York City. When it comes to resolution number 8, this is not a personal, I don't know, and I've never had a conversation with anyone at Well Worship Center, but just want to caution City Council when it comes to this, you're setting a precedent. And you're going to have, the city's going to have a lot more organizations coming asking for exemptions. And we're in good times right now, but we need to really, and I agree with Manuel, we really need to take a look at this because there's going to be kind of a rolling effect with this. So just want to be just kind of caution that these continuing exonerations, we all need them sometimes, and they're all appropriate. And I believe with Wells Worship Center it is, because I did review that information that they presented the last time. But there is a precedent being set here, and you're not going to be able to say no when other organizations come and now ask for exonerations or tax exemption in that context.
Thank you. Just for those who may be watching for the first time, but sorry. When it comes to consent agenda items, of course, it's up to the council if council wants to proceed with those consent agenda items. A lot of discussion happens in committee, and of course, if there's information that we need to find out for ourselves, we can reach out and we do the research. If there are issues with items, they'll be pulled. For me personally, I know that I can speak where there's been a lot of research for items, especially if they're on consent agenda. If there's an issue, I will definitely pull it. Come on up.
Good evening, Council. I'm Jason Query. I'm the one you guys just nominated. So thank you, York City. Thank you, Council. And I hope I make you guys proud and make Stephanie, that has passed on to her past life, proud as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll for items 3 through 8?
Dennis,
Yes.
Buckingham,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes. That is so ordered. Those items are approved. And Mr. Query, would you like to come on up?
You can just come to the podium. I'm going to give you the oath of office. Okay. Oh. Is everything? Oh, you want to come in? You can come in front of him, Tanya, if you want to take a picture of him. Come on out in Front Street. Let us all look at how lovely you look today. Everyone, my sister Tanya Thompson Morgan. Recognize Judge Morgan in the back there. Okay, so we find this oath of office. I just need you to raise your right hand and repeat after me.
I.
I'll stand up with you. I won't be so rude. State your name.
Jason Query.
Do solemnly swear.
Solemnly swear.
That I will support, obey, and defend.
I will support and
Obey and defend.
obey and defend.
Okay, you're out. You didn't do
Okay.
it right. All right, let's start again. I state your name.
Jason Query.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support, obey.
I will solemnly.
That I will support and
I will
obey.
support and obey.
And defend.
And defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of this Commonwealth.
And the Constitution of this Commonwealth.
And that I will discharge the duties.
And discharge of these duties.
Of my office.
Of my office.
With fidelity.
With fidelity.
Whew, you did it.
Thank you.
You just go ahead and sign your name right there. Congratulations. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you. There are no requests for future meetings. Is there any other council comment? I will say Ms. Tiflo left, but I did get a chance to see the forum last night. Seemed like it was well attended, and a wonderful job by Ms. Lowe for the presentation about GVI. I'm pretty sure I can speak for every member here on council, but we all take very seriously violence in our community and the loss of life in our community. And I just want to make it clear, I mean, I can say this over and over again, but there is a lot of work that we do behind the scenes. With the public safety system, camera surveillance system, there's a lot of work that has been done by council last year from August up until the end of 2022. And probably most recently over the past week, probably put in at least 10 hours in conversations, research, trying to get to, trying to proceed and progress with this. It's no doubt that artificial intelligence can help us, but we have to make sure we're representing all of our community. And there are steps that have to be addressed. There's detail that has to be provided before we get to a yes to approving infrastructure. Detail that I have been requesting for almost 2 years now. And so we are trying to work through that to get all parties at the table to make sure that we are representing all of our citizens and that all of our citizens are protected. So we take it very seriously. There is no pride when it comes to this because we're talking about lives in our community. But we have to make sure that we do this and we do it right because there, to my knowledge, is no other municipality in the nation other than Lancaster City that has a third party operating a citywide camera system. And we don't have access to the policies and procedures of the Lancaster Safety Coalition. And if we do this, we have to make sure that we are doing this the best way that we can and doing it right. So it's going to take time. But I can say for council members, for those that are interested, we are taking as much information and input as possible. And we're trying to make sure that we approach this the right way so that we all are protected. Any other comment from council? Administration comment? Thank you all for attending this evening. This meeting is adjourned.